Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charnley. This is another Worcestershire church. This is the Church of St Nicholas, Peopleton. Now, the derivation of the name is somewhat obscure. It certainly doesn't mean the township where there are people, because all townships have people. Probably it comes either from a personal name, or it may come from an Anglo-Saxon word meaning gravel, because it's near where a couple of streams flow either side of the village. And one of them is the Piddle, which is slightly amusing if you're English, because Piddle. This is a largely 13th century building with some later additions. It's a very pretty building. It's been, as with so many, it's been restored in the Victorian era. But in the 18th century, it had a brick tower built, replacing an old wooden steeple. There's an old picture in the church that we'll see in a moment that shows perhaps why they need to replace the steeple. So let's have a look around inside this little building at Peopleton. So here we are inside at Peopleton, and first of all, have a look at this. This is an old picture, an old watercolour of the church. You can see that's the old belfry, which may have counted as one of the wooden towers of Worcestershire, but certainly it looks a little bit crazed in that image, a bit the worse for wear. They certainly need to do some rebuilding work, and they did. These are riddle posts. There was a fashion for them in the Victorian era, early 20th century, and they formed, effectively they were to do with screening the altar. The font has this rather splendid red sandstone bowl that appears to be 14th century, maybe 13th. We have here the north doorway, elements here of this beam is believed it may actually have been a rood beam at one point, or it may have been part of the support of the old belfry. You can see in the door there's this grille, and that of course is ventilation. It can be closed up in the winter, and very nice chamber organ here. The chamber organ, of course, is a pipe organ that's designed for a country house or a townhouse setting rather than a church. And often they find their way into historic churches. Walls are whitewashed. We have here Christ receiving little children, which is a Victorian window. On the other side, just got these emblems in the glass, but is quite a bit of stained glass here. Here we have the memorial to Charles Arthur Reginald Kenelm Adderley, who died 1905, aged 24. Humphrey James Arden Adderley, third son of Lord and Lady Norton, died 1917. And because it's Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori, that means he died in the war, killed in the war. So there's the pulpit, which is a memorial pulpit. So it has in memory of the men from Paris who died in the Great War. Yes, I thought it might be. So one memorial pulpit, and that's a beautiful organ. Look at that beautiful case, and I'm sure the instrument inside is absolutely gorgeous, because they always are in these cases. It's well maintained too. Chancel, again 13th century, and we have these memorials. This is to George Dinnerly, BD, formerly Fellow of Worcester College, Oxford, and 38 years rector of this parish. Died 1844, aged 93. Golly. Nice shiny eagle lectern. And we've got the remains of 17th century communion rails, and then the altar has been brought forward as it should be. We have the east window, the Last Supper, 1889 memorial for the Reverend J. Cook, 34 years rector. And here is young children adoring the infant Christ. And this is a memorial to George Frederick Stokes, who was rector 1930 to 39. Angel little children behind. So that's, and we have here memorial to well, there we are. So
1632.
Quite old. No, 1732 rather. That makes more sense. And Francis Plummer, Giffard Dinnerly, curate, no doubt, yes, during the lifetime of his Uncle George, as his Uncle George would have been getting on a bit by that point. They didn't have retirement in those days. This is why you often see these men who carried on, and you think, why did they carry on in their 90s? And the answer is because there was no retirement, and if you didn't, well, you either had to have somebody, you had to have a fortune of your own, or you carried on and employed somebody. It could be quite tragic. There was one case in one of the villages in Worcestershire, in Martley, where the rector had an awful accident, left him with massive brain damage. He couldn't speak or look after himself, but because the only source he had of money was his position as rector, he had to stay in office, even though he was basically completely incapacitated for 50 years. And that's why clergy retirement exists, because otherwise you end up with a man who is completely disabled, can't do anything, and he still has to hang on in post because there's no other way to look after him. It shouldn't happen, and thankfully it doesn't happen anymore. So here we are back at the font. So have a look around the outside next. And so here we are outside of Peopleton. You can see behind me. Now, nearer is the vestry. And so the actual church itself is beyond that building. You can see here, this is this brick tower that's been built inside the west end of the church, replacing that rather crazed looking wooden belfry that was there before. So I'll look around the outside and point out again the various salient features of this structure. St. Nicholas Peopleton. Peopleton is one of those churches where historically the main entrance has always been on the north side, but of course the sun hits on the south side, so filming starts on the south side. Also to the south of the church is this building. This is a very important structure. Modern churches, back in the day, you didn't need these, but this is the toilets, the necessary conveniences, as some have put it. And they're very important to have something like this because of well, modern expectations. And I won't go into further details on that. But here we are, 13th century building. See a nice long chancel, which is very typical of 13th century. South doorway, which would always have been secondary. Doing some work on the window there, which is good, but of course that's that nice red sandstone. That's going to be a Victorian window. Oh, no, that's going to be earlier than that, maybe 15th century window. And you can see here a bit better that tower, square brick tower, very simple, very 18th century. It's just got the local builder to knock something up, and why not? Don't need anything more than that. Again, you've got these grills, these ventilation grills at the priest's door, and that would be very, very handy in the summer to be able to open the grills, and you can get air in, and you don't have to worry about birds flying in here. So here we are round the east end, Victorian window there, nothing wrong with that. And topiary, these nice clipped, variegated holly. There's that porch. Of course, that is 19th century replacement, but again, it's in the proper wooden porch style for Worcestershire. Very good idea. And up there, well, there we are. There's that tower, and you can see again very much it's built inside the west end because it's replacing that earlier belfry. And there, inside the porch, there is that door with its grill. These grills are a feature around here, but they're very unusual anywhere else, but they're quite common in this part of Worcestershire. So just go around the west end, in fact, so you can see that the tower does not impinge at all. And see, there are these two 14th century windows, and that's why the tower has been built inside, because otherwise it would obstruct those windows. You see again, grille on the door for the vestry, external door for the vestry. So that is St Nicholas, Peopleton. So that is St Nicholas, Peopleton. The thing about this churches with the main at the north side is I've got to go down to the south side to get proper sunlight facing me in order to do a closing outro like this. Well, thank you for watching. It's lovely to be able to share some of these beautiful rural churches with you. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.